The morning Marcus lost his job started like any other. Coffee going cold on the break room counter, the smell of motor oil thick in the air, and the sound of air wrenches echoing through Hargrove Auto Shop like a heartbeat he had known for 11 years. He was under a 2019 Honda Accord when he heard the slow crunch of tires on gravel. Not the confident pull of a regular customer. This was hesitant, careful, the way someone drives when they're not sure they can afford what comes next. He rolled out from under the car and saw her. She was maybe 75, small as a sparrow, wearing a floral blouse that had been washed so many times the colors had faded to whispers. Her car, a 1998 Toyota Corolla with a cracked side mirror held together by electrical tape, had died right at the entrance. She stood beside it with both hands wrapped around her purse strap, looking at the car the way people look at someone they love in a hospital bed. "Excuse me," she said softly. "It just stopped. I don't know what happened. I have a doctor's appointment at 2. Marcus looked at the clock on the wall. It was 1:15. He looked at the car. He looked at her face, the quiet dignity in it, the effort she was making not to seem desperate. "Let me take a look," he said. Her name was Eleanor. She told him that while he worked, her voice drifting in from outside where she sat on the bench near the entrance. Her husband had passed 3 years ago. The car was his. She'd barely driven it since, only when she absolutely needed to, because keeping it felt like keeping a piece of him. The problem was a failed fuel pump relay and a battery terminal so corroded it was a miracle the car had started at all that morning. Parts and labor would normally run close to $300. Marcus thought about the coffee going cold. He thought about her floral blouse. He thought about the way she'd said it just stopped, like she was describing something that had happened to her, not the car. He replaced the relay, cleaned the terminals, and when he was done, he walked to where she sat. "All fixed," he said. "You've got enough time to make your appointment." She opened her purse immediately. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," Marcus said. "Consider it a favor." She stared at him. For a moment, her composure cracked just slightly, a small trembling at the corner of her lips. "Young man, I can pay." "I know you can," he said. "I just don't want you to. Drive safe, Eleanor." Derek Hargrove had been watching from the office window. His boss called him in 20 minutes after Eleanor drove away. Derek was a man who had inherited the shop from his father and run it with the warmth of a parking meter. He sat behind his desk with a printed invoice in his hand. Blank, because Marcus had never rung Eleanor up. $300 in parts and labor, Derek said. Gone. The parts were leftover stock. It took me 40 minutes. I don't care if it took you 4 minutes. This is a business, not a charity. Derek set the paper down. "I've been looking for a reason, Marcus. Honestly, I have. You're good at what you do, but you make decisions like this shop belongs to you. It doesn't. Clean out your locker." Marcus stood there for a moment. 11 years. The first car he'd ever fixed here was a '92 Ford pickup that Derek's father had trusted him with when he was 23 years old, with grease on his knuckles and ambition in his chest. 11 years of that smell. Those sounds. This particular quality of afternoon light coming through the garage doors. He cleaned out his locker. He drove home in silence. That night he sat at his kitchen table with his laptop open, updating a resume he hadn't touched in a decade. The cursor blinked at him like a question he didn't know how to answer. 3 days passed, then 4. He applied to 6 shops. 2 didn't respond. 2 said they weren't hiring. 1 called him in and then gave the position to someone 10 years younger. The 6th said they'd keep his application on file, which meant nothing. On the 5th day, he got a call from a number he didn't recognize. "Is this Marcus Webb?" The voice on the other end was professional, measured, female. "It is. My name is Patricia Hale. I'm the executive assistant to Eleanor Voss. She'd like to meet with you if you're available." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Eleanor Voss," he repeated. "Yes, I believe you helped her recently. With her car?" He almost laughed. "The elderly woman with the Corolla?" "That's correct." A brief pause. "Ms. Voss owns Voss Automotive Group, 47 dealerships across 9 states. She'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning if possible. She asked me to emphasize that it's important." Marcus sat down. He hadn't been standing, but somehow his body needed to anyway. Eleanor Voss. He knew the name. Everyone in the industry knew the name. She had built the largest privately held automotive dealership chain in the region from a single used car lot her husband had started in 1978. After he died, the speculation was that she'd sell. Instead, she'd expanded. She was known for appearing unannounced at her dealerships, driving in ordinary cars, watching how her staff treated ordinary customers. The Corolla, the faded floral blouse, the purse she'd clutched. It hadn't been poverty, it had been a test she wasn't even giving him, or maybe one she was giving everyone, always, without announcing it. He met her the next morning in a glass-walled office on the 14th floor of a building downtown. She was dressed differently now, simply, but with quiet authority. She stood when he entered and she shook his hand with both of hers. "Sit down, Marcus," she said. He sat. "I've been doing what I did with you for 30 years, she said. "I drive in, I break down, I see what kind of people a shop employs." She folded her hands on the desk. "In 30 years, 3 people have helped me without asking for anything. You're the third." "What happened to the other 2?" he asked. She smiled for the first time. "One runs our service division in Charlotte. The other retired as a regional director 6 years ago." She looked at him steadily. "I heard you were let go. The same day you left. I'm sorry for that. I didn't intend it. It wasn't your fault. Maybe not. But I'd like to do something about it." She slid a folder across the desk. "I'm opening a new flagship service center on the east side. 12 bays, 20 staff, full diagnostics. I need someone to run it, not just manage it, but build the culture of it from the ground up. Someone who understands that how you treat people matters more than the invoice." She nodded toward the folder. "The salary is there, so is everything else." Marcus opened the folder. He looked at the number. He closed it again. "Why me?" he said. "You met me for 40 minutes. "I know," Eleanor said. "But in those 40 minutes, you saw an old woman worried about her car and her doctor's appointment, and you made a decision based entirely on what was right. Not on what was profitable, not on what your boss would think." She paused. "Character isn't complicated, Marcus. It's just rare." He thought about Derek watching from the window. He thought about 11 years of that garage, and how quickly it had ended. He thought about Eleanor sitting on that bench with her hands wrapped around her purse, trying not to look like she needed help. "When do you want me to start?" he said. She smiled again, and this time it reached her eyes. "Monday." He stood. They shook hands. As he turned to leave, he stopped at the door. "Eleanor," he said, "the car, it belonged to your husband?" She looked at him carefully. "Yes." "Keep driving it," he said. "It's got a lot of miles left in it." She didn't answer immediately, but when she did, her voice was quieter than it had been the entire meeting. "I know," she said. "That's why I do." Marcus walked out into the morning, and for the first time in 5 days, he didn't feel like a man who had lost something. He felt like a man who had been found. Part 2 is